Hello, 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 and welcome to Project Possible with me, Rich Lee. Today I'm talking to Tweedy the Clown. I think it will come across in the conversation, but I absolutely adore Tweedy, the character, and the man behind Tweedy. Apparently there's not that much difference, is just as lovely. I met Tweedy on a beautiful summer's day back in August, so it's been a few months now, but I wanted to get this out. The timing isn't accidental. We're in December. It is pantomime season. And in a couple of short weeks, I will be going to the pantomime. I do it every single year in Cheltenham to watch Tweedy and others in what I believe is Robin Hood. I just buy the tickets every year. I take my mum and the family, and we love it. It's just been a real kind of festive mainstay. Pantomime for the uninitiated, if you're listening, in the US, Australia, others, and you don't have pantomime. I don't know if you do or don't, but it feels like quite a British thing. It's a strange mix of campy musical theatre, gags that are made, jokes that are made for adults as well as kids. So, you both get some, like when you're watching The Simpsons, there's something for kids and something for adults. It's kind of like that. It's silly, it's repetitive. Kids, the whole, he's behind you. It's men in dresses. It's like quintessentially wonderfully British, I think. Again, you might well have it. Oh, Tweedy is an absolute favourite around these parts. And he's been performing in the pantomime for years. We get into that. But he's also an international entertainer. He's played at Madison Square Garden with Barnum and Bailey Circus. He's been all around the world. And I met him on, as I say, a beautiful summer's day in Marlborough, which is in the, I think, North Wessex Downs. As I drove, I could just see all of the Giffords Circus caravans and kind of burgundy painted trailers, and it was just incredible to park, to walk over. It feels like it's a whole community that comes together, a whole village that comes together, settles, does their thing for a week or so, or two, in each different place, and then leaves again as if they were never there. Kaiser Soze. I walked through, not really sure where to go, what door to knock on, out of all of the many. And instead what I did is I followed the sound of a ukulele, and it led me to a cross-legged Tweedy, sat facing the sun, playing a ukulele absolutely brilliantly. And I almost didn't want to disturb him. But you'll see, he actually starts the interview with a bit of ukulele playing completely, as I was setting up, which is wonderful. And yeah, I loved meeting him. What an incredible career, what an incredible guy. Really one of the most unique people I possibly ever met. And I mean that incredibly positively. Without further ado, I bring to you my conversation with the brilliant, the talented, the mercurial Tweedy the Clown. Enjoy. That is the best mic check I've ever had. I normally have, the whole, what did you have for breakfast?
Yes.
What did you, can you mic check 1, 2, 3. That's the coolest I think I've ever had. So thank you so much for that.
Boom.
How long have you been playing?
And it's hard to say, because I've been playing music. I was 15 when I first decided I'm going to do music, and I got a ukulele banjo, and bizarrely at that time ukuleles were like almost extinct. Nobody knew what they were. Right. There was a phase where ukuleles just kind of went out of fashion, and I liked George Formby, and he used to play ukulele banjo, and I saved up and got one, and there was just like one tuition book available.
So no teachers, no.
The school got me a guitar teacher, and the guitar teacher like taught me from this book, and so I learned that, and then I sort of progressed onto different instruments. But that tenor banjo, I just started playing 2 years ago. But then it's the same as mandolin, which I also play. So yeah. So
you played the banjo, played the guitar as well?
A bit of guitar, yeah. A bit of. So I did a show maybe 6 years ago. It was called Slapstick Symphony, and I think I played 17 different things in the show.
Wow.
Including a turkey baster and a whoopee cushion harmonium.
Is that one of those ones where you've got a handful of them and they all make different sounds based on how filled?
No, I got so I had a bench with 5 whoopee cushions on it, right, and attached them into a pipe, and then those pipes were different sizes, which gave it different notes.
Right.
And then I played by sitting on the different whoopee cushions. So yeah, music's my ear is not naturally great musically. It's got better, but it's just another great tool as a clown to have, to be able to kind of play around with weird musical instruments.
Jumping ahead a hell of a lot, but I've seen you talk about grok. And as a result, if you're talking about grok, I went down a bit of a YouTube rabbit hole of watching grok, and his performances, and of course it's all musical, predominantly musical. Did you ever want to go down that route as a result of your, I guess, interest and maybe being inspired by grok?
Yeah, completely, and that was kind of the main inspiration behind that show, Slapstick Symphony, was kind of experimenting with music and taking inspiration from the likes of grok. I've got a lot of unusual instruments, and I managed to find a violin like grok. Grok's got this tiny violin, so the body is only about that big, but it's slightly out of proportion, so the neck is right, bigger than it would naturally be, but it's still only about that small. And I used that violin in a show 2 years ago at Giffords Circus here, and in the rehearsal we have like an open rehearsal, sort of dress rehearsal, where we invite the locals down. We're based at Fennel's Farm in Stroud, and we invite the locals of Bisley to see the show. And in the show I accidentally stood on it.
Broke it?
Yeah. Which got a big laugh, but I was
absolutely not necessary, not what you wanted to do.
Luckily, I managed to track another one down, but then kept that in the routine where I'd switch it out.
Right, and stand on the broken one.
And so a lot of kind of...
That's a great example of, I guess, something going wrong in the moment, learning from it, having fun with it.
Yeah.
Did you play it straight? Did you play it as if that was supposed to happen?
Yeah, I then just did it like, this was an accident every time. And that's a lot of kind of material comes out of sort of things happening in the moment, things going wrong. And so
it's not super choreographed. You don't go into, I imagine a lot of it is, but
a lot of it is, but I genuinely love when things go wrong, because I kind of think, okay, I've got to find a way out of this, and that's how a lot of things are born. And for me, that's the whole kind of starting point, is a man in trouble. So you've got, as a clown and sort of doing physical comedy, you've got to get yourself into some sort of trouble, some sort of problem, and then in trying to resolve that problem, you get into more trouble. I mean, the classic you saw the show this year, I Start, was the oldest kind of one of the oldest routines there is of putting up a deck chair, old-fashioned deck chair. So that's it. It's a man in trouble. You've got this problem of putting up this deck chair, and you're not just going to put it up as a clown. You know, you're going to try every which way until eventually you accidentally put it up. So that's how I kind of go about putting routines together.
What's the best thing about being Tweedy?
I get to play and have fun all the time, and that's, you know, I don't see it as a job at all. You know, it's like go to work. It's like, well, no, it's go to play.
So at this point, do you feel like Tweedy's a character, or do you feel just I am Tweedy? I mean, I've heard people call you. Your wife called you Tweedy. So
yeah, it's. I mean, everyone's got sort of different aspects of themselves and different, you know, versions of yourself. You behave differently in different situations. Like at the moment, I'm being quite serious. I'm talking quite seriously. So to me, Tweedy is very much, it is me. It's a version of myself. I kind of like to say it's the excited me. You know, if I'm at a party and I'm excited and, you know, sort of buzzing, it's the same as Tweedy in the circus ring or on the stage.
I saw your daughter said that it's like having a little brother sometimes when she was growing up.
Yeah, she said that when she was like 6 or something. She's very serious. So yeah, it is just about keeping the, you know, your childlikeness there all the time. You know, we're kind of forced to kind of grow up and be serious and get a real job, and you have to be responsible. And it's like, yes, you do, but it can still be fun.
Did you ever think about getting a quote unquote real job?
Real job? Not really. That was what my parents said to me when I said I want to be a clown.
And what did they do? What was there?
So my dad was an electronics engineer. And my mum, she was a hairdresser, as was my grandparents. It was kind of a line of hairdressers. And she then worked at like the local swimming pool and things like that. My dad used to do a bit of sort of Amdram. He was very involved with the Scouts. So he'd do like the gang shows and things like that. And my grandma apparently was a dancer, but I've not really found out much more about what all that entailed and how, you know, was she professional? I think she was professional, but I don't really know. So yeah.
So it's there were examples of it around you, but your dad also had what sounds like a very serious job.
Yeah. So it was quite a bizarre one. I decided, you know, I wanted to be a clown and made this sort of announcement at the table, you know, having. How
old do you think you were?
Dinner. I think I was about 16.
Old enough for it to be serious, you know, like when my daughter, my 8-year-old, about 6 months ago said, I still think I want to be a mermaid, Dad. And, you know, you're like, okay, cool. But 16.
Yeah, this was, you know, careers advice and all that sort of thing going on. You know, they were like, how could you get a real job, do it at weekends, you know.
Right.
But I always knew I didn't want to be, you know, I didn't want to be a kid's entertainer, no disrespect. I didn't want to do birthday parties for children. I knew I wanted to kind of be a clown and do circus and theatre, things like that.
What took you to that? Because I know you've talked about Laurel and Hardy before.
Yeah.
And Buster Keaton and people like that. So you're watching, what were you watching them on TV? What was the...
Yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, Laurel and Hardy used to be on TV at like 6 o'clock. So, you know, you'd have dinner and then watch Laurel and Hardy. And then I used to stay around my grandma's house on Saturdays when the parents were kind of going shopping or doing whatever they did on Saturdays. And BBC Two used to always have the likes of George Formby, who I mentioned, Norman Wisdom, Marx Brothers, all that kind of thing. So that's kind of what I absorbed. And that's who I wanted to be like. But they all kind of started in music hall in vaudeville, which isn't really around now. I mean, cabaret thing, variety's kind of had this big reinsurgence lately. And circus is kind of the closest thing to that, you know, what they used to do. So yeah, that's what.
So when did you first realise that you were funny, or that you were able to make people laugh? Were you always that kind of kid, like, you know, when you were at school?
So I was tiny,
right,
at school, so much so that I kind of went to hospital for about a week when I was 15 for them to kind of find out why.
Okay, 15 still. So.
Yeah, I was tiny right up then, and basically I was a late developer, which is kind of funny because I've always clung on to the child side. I kind of see it as I don't want to grow up, so I didn't hit puberty till really late. So I was always kind of the funny little kid.
Right. Is that a personality you felt that you had to kind of develop to not get bullied for being small, or was it always just there?
Yeah, no, certainly no. It wasn't a conscious thing at all, and it wasn't like I'm the joker making jokes, trying to make people laugh. I just seemed to be funny naturally, and I remember friends saying, probably again when I was about 15, saying, "Oh, you're only funny because you're small." So I then had this thing of, I don't want to suddenly get big and not be funny. So yeah, that's.
Do you think that's true? Like, you know, you can't be funny if you're big and.
Well, I am big now. You know what I mean? That's what I meant. Tall, not big.
So, no, but I mean, tall. Do you think Andre the Giant? Do you think you mean Princess Diaries? You watch that and he's funny in that.
Yeah,
you can be funny in.
Yeah, size doesn't matter at all. But I don't know. I just took that as no, because you said you're only funny because you're small. And I thought, maybe I won't be funny if I'm big. Then.
I mean, isn't it funny the things we hold on to? That would have been decades. Obviously school time, and yet you still remember that. But I bet you remember how he said it. Because that's such a.
It did put a thought in my head of, maybe I'm just funny because I'm little. But yeah, luckily that wasn't the case.
Clowning was something that, from around that age, you'd seen it. As you said, you've absorbed all these things, and you thought, yeah, that's what I want to do. How do you then go from that's what I want to do, Mum, Dad, I don't want to do what you might want me to do, to actually then doing it?
It was very difficult. I mean, I'll just say to start, I also was looking at animation and thought I wanted to go into that side of it.
What year would this have been?
Oh gosh, like 1990, something like that.
Okay, so I'm just trying to picture where we were in terms of animation then.
Yeah, well, it was.
What was inspirational to you around that time?
It was pre-computer. I mean, Roger Rabbit was a huge thing for me.
Yes. What was that? 80? Oh gosh, like late 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, phenomenal. Even now, I watched it again about a year ago, and it really stands up still, just because what they did was incredible.
Yeah,
the way that they merged the two.
I watched it so many times as a kid, but I had the realization that actually animation is very dull. It's basically like an office job, and it was like, I don't want to draw Roger Rabbit. I want to be Roger Rabbit, and that was kind of another thing of clown. That's like cartoon. So that was kind of another reason why I'd come to the conclusion I wanted to be a clown. But it was very difficult. No internet. So it's like, careers advice. Clown? What? I don't know how you become a clown.
Just run to the circus, eh? That's that's the trope, right? Run away to the circus. Well, how?
Yeah, exactly. So I left. I'd written to any address I could get of sort of circus schools, clown schools, things like that. Was kind of didn't really know what any of it.
What were you saying to them? Just, hey, I think I want to do this. Can you give me a chance?
Yeah, I mean, there was various ones at the time. There was one in Bristol, which is now Circa Media, that kind of did a 10-week course. So I was kind of doing that research, and then I left school. I went back to school about a week later as a cleaner.
How was that for you?
Freaked the teachers out. Well, very funny.
Yeah.
I was walking in the staff room. No, you've left. Oh, I'm back. I'm the cleaner. Buffering the halls with the buffer machine whilst unicycling. Things like that. And then I got offered a pantomime because I did youth theatre. And so I got this pantomime. It was great. And that was like I can make money doing this. I can do what I love and make money. So that was another kind of thing, right? Yes, I've got to.
And you're still in the teens here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is actually 17 that would have been. So I'm thinking I've got to try, and I got like a good review, which was in the stage. So it was all kind of like, yes, I have to pursue this. Then I was kind of doing like a local fete, for free, clowning about, and a neighbour or somebody said to my mum, "Has he thought of going to Butlins?" And I hadn't, but then I did. I thought, oh, Butlins, yeah, I could, because I knew I just had to get out there and do it. That's kind of the main way to learn. So I got a job in Butlins in Ayr. It's shut down now. This is in Scotland, and I did the kids clubs, so you do all the activities with the kids, and then they'd have a Red Coat Cabaret every week, and I just try stuff out, and a lot of it was just terrible. And what you're doing, and
what sort of things can you remember? So that's one of my questions was, can you remember the first time you performed for anybody? But presumably it would have been at the youth theatre.
Yeah. So I'd kind of done a lot of shows.
So you weren't afraid to get on stage?
No,
you didn't
and I wasn't afraid to kind of flop either. I was just
really
kind of.
So what ways would you flop when doing the Red Coat Cabaret?
Well, just things like I'd find some roller skates and I couldn't roller skate, so I'd go, okay, I'd try and do that. They would say to me, look, just come on, do your juggling, do a bit of unicycling.
Yeah.
Which I would do, but I'd do all sorts of other nonsense as well. And I think people just kind of, what's he doing? I think, it's probably entertaining enough, but it was great to have that opportunity just to try things out.
Well, I guess you're in trouble then, right? The whole clown in trouble thing.
Yeah.
You're in some jeopardy. You put yourself in jeopardy because you don't know how to do this thing.
Let's try it. So I was doing Butlins and saving up to go to Bristol to do this clown course, which was like 12 weeks or something like that. But then it went bust.
Right.
So, I found out via the stage newspaper, I'd got accepted and everything like that. And then it's like, you get the stage every week. And it's like, oh.
I guess I'm not going there then.
I'm not going there. So I made a questionnaire just as personal research of trying to kind of find out more about clowning, and sent to anywhere I could. This is by mail because it's pre-internet. I think I sent about 50 out, just any address of a circus I could get or anything like that. I got 2 back. One was from a circus in Canada, which I'd never heard of, called Cirque du Soleil.
Never heard of it, mate. Ever. Who are they?
Exactly. From a clown there. And, she'd answered my questions, and it was great. It was very interesting. And the other one was from Martin Burton, who's the owner of Giffords Circus and was also Zippo the Clown at the time. Again, you just answer my question there. It was great. And then at the
what sort of things were in there?
Gosh, I've still got one at home somewhere. Things like about their character, what they think makes a character funny, what skills do you have and think is good for a clown to have or learn. Just kind of things like that. And the one from Martin Burton at the back, it then said the best way to learn is on the road from other clowns. If you're interested, you can join Giffords Circus as a publicity clown, which is kind of doing school shows, so working ahead of the circus, so you're not with the circus.
So you're promoting the circus to children. They go home, they say, Mummy, Daddy, I want to go to the circus.
Yeah.
I saw a funny clown. And then, got it.
So you're doing school assemblies, you're wandering the streets, just handing out leaflets, doing all that sort of thing. I've never
had clowns come to my school. I wish I had clowns come to my school.
Yeah. So I took that job, and my parents were very like, oh. Butlins, there was something a bit respectable about Butlins because you wear the red coat and all that sort of thing. The circus was a whole world that my parents didn't understand, so they were a bit dubious about me going off to join a circus. So I went there, and my first week, Zippo, who was clowning at the time, the main clown, he'd stuck in traffic. So they're like, oh, what are you going to do? It's like instantly, I'll do it. The thing with clown is you always say yes, and then you're in trouble. Can you do that? Yeah, I can do that. Which I kind of have a bit naturally anyway, because sort of natural clown. And they were like, okay, we'll teach you how to drive the clown car. They had a little clown car. And that'll be it. And it's like, no, I've seen the other routine. I know it. I can do it. So, okay, you do. So I did it. And then the second show, Zippo caught the end of it and went, okay, do you want to be my understudy for the year? I was like, oh, great. So I became his understudy for the year. So I was kind of doing, it was almost half because he owned a circus. He was getting so caught up in the business side of it. And then the following year, he made me sort of part of his clown troupe. So there was 3 clowns and we kind of worked together. And that's how I started and that's how I learned.
That's incredible. I mean, there's so many lessons from that. Not to get too over serious, but say yes. Like don't be afraid of rejection. Chucking 50 letters out and only getting 2 back. There's so many things here that apply across the board as well. To people that might want to follow a passion or follow something that isn't the traditional route. There's so many people that I speak to for this, as you'd imagine, actors, sports people, and people that have done incredible things. It's always a weird circuitous route to what they do. But it's that many of the same things are there. Many of these same traits where it's like, I'm just going to throw myself into this. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to not be afraid to fail. Those things. Were you performing as Zippo then, or were you as Tweedy at that point? Or you started as Weedy, didn't you?
I started as Weedy, and there was already a Weedy.
Right.
It's a bit like equity,
Yes.
You got to have sort of an original name. And it was Martin, aka Zippo the Clown, who said, why don't you just add a T? Because, it's kind of got this Scottish connection, all that sort of thing. And I did, and it stuck. I mean, Weedy, the guy who was Tweedy the Clown came to me a couple of years later going, I'm retiring, do you want the name? But it was kind of like, well,
not at this stage,
It's established now. I'm quite happy.
And I guess it's a slight, we don't have to say, but it's a slight play on your name.
So. I mean, that's why I went for Weedy, because Digweed being the last name.
Were you Weedy at school? Oh, you were small as well, right? Oh, Christ. Kids
are
bloody horrible.
I had so many nicknames at school. There was a phase of Weedy in primary school, and then it became Diggs for a long time. When I was
Diggs is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like Diggs.
Like Diggs. So I've never really gone by my real name of Alan. Nobody's ever really kind of called me that. So apart from my parents, obviously.
I mean, it felt very natural as I came up to you earlier, just to be like, hey, Tweedy. It would be strange. It feels right.
Yeah.
So, were you, as you are now, with the red flash of hair? Were you, what did you look like at that stage? What was your kind of clown performance appearance?
It was a very kind of traditional circus at the time, and traditional European style clowning. So I had the big makeup, I had the red nose, which you have to find your unique makeup. It's got to sort of fit the natural lines of your face, otherwise that's when it becomes grotesque and scary. It's to enhance your facial expressions. Back in the day when you didn't have the mics and lighting might not be so good, and a lot of the tents were much bigger, so you're further away. So it was to amplify your facial expression.
I mean, you've got a very defined face, if you don't mind me saying. You've got your cheekbones and, you could say, maybe the lights have helped, but I imagine that you're probably quite expressionate from afar without all of that.
Yeah, anyway, but that was kind of what was required at Zippo, was to have the big makeup.
Right. Did you have big hair? What was the...
So I never got on with wigs. So I dyed... initially, I dyed all my hair. I dyed it all red, and I found a wig exactly the same. So when I went home after being touring, I arrived at the house with this wig on. Alan, take that ridiculous wig off. Took it off, exactly the same underneath. So I had it like that, and then I had it. It was long on top, and I'd have little bunches. And this was early on.
You had bunches, as in.
Yeah, like this, like here. So, when my hat fall off, it just looked completely ridiculous, and it'd get a laugh. But about, I think, yeah, it was the Christmas of '96. I was doing a circus show in a theatre in Norwich, I think it was, and I'd fallen this birthday cake, and I'd lie there for ages. It's one of those gags where it's funny. Oh, it's fun. It's funny. So, oh, wait a minute. What? He's not moving. He's not moving. And then the laugh comes back again. You know. So it was a long time. And this birthday cake, one of the candles hadn't gone out, so my hair caught fire. And I didn't realise. I'm just lying there. I'm like, that's a different reaction from normal. And then I smelt, that horrible singed. And put the cake on my head, put it out. And basically there was just a tuft at the front left, and I was like, actually, that's much better. And that was it. I kept it from then. And what I quite like about it, since losing the makeup, because I never planned to be that kind of clown, with the full makeup, because like I say, Norman Wisdom and all that kind of people's who I want to be like. But the red tuft felt like a sort of modern day red nose, so it still felt like I'm a clown.
A nod to it, but without having to do the same as everybody else.
No.
I mean, also, as you've got older, have you worried about losing your hair? And what might happen were you to lose it? Because you haven't. You've got a great head of hair.
No, I'm kind of hoping I'm don't.
If you haven't by now, you probably won't.
Yeah,
right?
my dad hasn't. Well, he has at the back, but not the front. So that would be
that would be fine, even, right?
Yeah. I mean, I did have a sort of dilemma of, because I'm getting very grey now, of whether I, dye it brown, because I do have sort of Tweedy toys and things like that, which is brown. But I decided just to stay natural.
I think you're looking at the red, you're not looking at the rest of the head, right?
No, and I'm also, I find it very interesting because I see like the clown is very much me. So obviously my clown character evolves and changes as I do, as I age. So I am sort of intrigued to see, because I don't plan on retiring, when I'm really old and slow, what that clown character is.
What's the oldest clown you've ever seen perform?
80.
Right, okay. Somebody it can be done. Why not?
Yeah. And there's something really kind of nice and sweet about seeing a good clown at that age still working and going slow. And so, yeah, I do.
Who was that out of interest? Who performed up to 80 that you've seen?
Well, there's a few people have. The kind of recent one would be Dimitri, who's a Swiss clown. Right. And again, he's kind of it was a big inspiration for me. And he worked till he was 80. And there's Popov, who's a famous Russian clown who worked that sort of age. So there are a lot. You just have to watch, because I think if you do lose your timing and all that sort of thing, you do need to know when to say, actually, maybe I should stop now. Or somebody else will maybe go, I think you should stop now.
Oh, you don't want to get it to that, do you? You don't ever want somebody to say, hey, you probably shouldn't be on the pitch anymore. You probably shouldn't be on the stage anymore. Yeah. You need to be the person to go, yeah, not anymore.
Come shuffling in.
So you've obviously performed for decades now.
Yeah.
Across Zippos, Giffords. When did you join Giffords?
I joined Giffords 2004, yeah.
So we're talking 21 years. I know you had a couple of years out when you went to the States.
Yeah.
And you're performing at venues like Madison Square Garden, which was that 10,000 people?
Yeah, something like that.
Crazy numbers of people. What do you introduce yourself as when you meet somebody new? Do you say, hi, I'm Tweedy the Clown?
Yeah, I just say Tweedy, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it feels more like a nickname rather than a stage name.
Yeah. So you've talked about the word clown. You said the word clown's lost its meaning.
Yeah.
And that you describe yourself more as a physical comedian.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always say I'm a clown, but it's what people's perception of that is.
What do you mean when you say that the word clown's lost its meaning?
Mainly looking towards all the kind of horror clowns that are about now. And people, they say, you see clowns, I'm scared of clowns. And it's like...
It was the first thing somebody that wasn't aware of you said to me. They're like, oh, it's going to be scary. I was like, no.
Why is what I mean by it's lost its meaning, because if you've seen like a real clown, you'd have the opposite. Yeah. And I haven't got anything against horror clowns, but it just needs a distinction of that's not a clown.
Yeah.
It's the complete opposite, which is how it works. Clown is about empathy. You warm to that character. You love that character. It's it's this childlike, beautiful thing for me, and that's what clown is.
So Stephen King ruined it.
Yeah,
Literally ruined.
And he's well, you see that, but that's the thing. I think I haven't got anything against.
Yeah, there has to, so there's a place for everything, but equally, when the majority of people, speak to somebody on the street, what they know of a clown, because they might not have seen you or others, they might, clowns, I'm terrified of clowns. I mean, it's even got its phobia name. Can you remember what that is? Like
colophobia. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong.
Something like that. And it's like there's a whole phobia now for people that are terrified of clowns because of the horror clowns, which has this delineation over here. And
that's completely the media, that's done that. I wouldn't blame Stephen King.
I think you make a really good point. It's the flip of it that makes it work so well.
Yeah.
Because you watch it, it is terrifying.
Yeah.
And you read it, and it's the whole character. The basis is that he's kind of enticing, and you kind of want to warm to him, and then bite your head off.
I know a kind of great example is that. Kids' birthday parties and all that, it used to be you'd have a clown, whereas now it's not. And one of the most popular things is having like a pirate party, because the media's made pirates into these
cuddly.
Yeah, and it's like, no, pirates are the murderers. They are the ones that are killing. And
Johnny Depp's made being a pirate cool.
Yeah, and so it's just kind of an example of the power of the media and how they can twist things around.
On that note, and just jumping ahead a few for my questions, but have you ever done much TV or film, or have you ever any interest in that sort of things?
I have interest, because obviously like most of my heroes are TV and film clowns. I mean, I call them clowns because I think they are clowns. Laurel and Hardy and all that sort of people. It's difficult though now. I've had lots of kind of developments and things like that, particularly with kids TV, because people look at me and they'll instantly kind of think, yeah, perfect for kids.
So you've had you've had some of those conversations.
Oh, I've had to, film stuff for CBBC and stuff like that, which is when I kind of gave up, because health and safety now, you couldn't even have Laurel and Hardy on a CBBC thing,
really, because
of the slapstick. So we filmed this. Yeah, I had sort of a team at CBBC where we were developing stuff, and then they said, okay, we'll film a scene. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. And then they went, oh no, actually we haven't got the budget. And I said, well, it's not going to cost that much. I'll pay for it. So I paid for it. We filmed this little scene and sent it to them, and then they went, oh, we can't use it. You've broken all these rules. I was like, well, you obviously didn't read the script.
It was all there.
It's all there,
right.
And I kind of thought, I can't make the shows that I would like to make here. So what could
you make? I mean, I remember.
Well, it all cuts away, so it'll be like, oh, and then you'll be on the floor,
right?
But you won't see the actual. Yeah. The actual fall.
So I'm trying to remember now, like your Bodgers and Badgers of the world. Do you remember that? Like,
yeah.
I mean, as you're talking about definitions of clowns now, I'm like, were they clowns?
There's an aspect. I mean, and the Chuckle Brothers, they
were slapstick
circus at some point. Yeah, again to an extent, but none. You won't get any of the kind of stunt type ones.
Why is it? Because they don't want children to see Jeopardy?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, having said that, my friends did a show on CBBC not that long ago, and in about the 5th series, they did seem to manage to get some sort of like, hanging by a rope stuff in there. And I thought, oh, they've managed to, by doing it long enough, they've managed to get there. So I am still interested in it, and I am developing something at the moment, because I think if you go down the streaming route, then I could possibly make a show that I want to make.
Can you say any more about that? What sort of thing what are you putting together?
Not that much. I'd like to do what I do live on TV. So a show that's for the whole family, but I mean, growing up, Muppet Show for me was, another big thing. So I'd love to be able to do a show that brings, everyone, the whole family can watch it together and find something about it funny. So,
I mean, it can work live mixed with, that then is shown on TV. Like, I've watched Darren Brown innumerable times.
Yeah.
Works brilliantly on TV, works brilliantly live.
Yeah.
And I know it's a very, very different kind of performance, but
yeah,
it's like the same. It translates just as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even to do like a live show on TV, but to get those elements of what I do. So, in answer to your question, yes, but not just for the sake of being on TV or film.
Yeah.
To do.
Well, I mean,
what I want to do.
I tried to look at the numbers of people, to estimate the number of people that you might have performed to. Yeah. Have you any idea?
No, a lot.
Now, I'm using ChatGPT, so and various things.
Yeah.
Looking at various points in your career and the length of time that you've done it for, and all of that, and it's saying getting close to a couple of million people potentially over the course of your career.
Yeah.
If we're taking in Giffords for 20 plus years, Zippo. How long were you at Zippos?
8 seasons.
8 seasons, and how many the pantomime? How many seasons have you done pantomime?
Like 30 years.
So do you see what I mean? It starts to add up, and all of a sudden those, that 500, that 1,000, that 10,000, all of it, becomes millions of people. So it's not like, very often, I've sat across the table from people that want to be on reality TV, and they want to be on TV because to be on TV is to be famous, and those things.
Yeah.
You've done that. You've performed in front of millions of people over your career. It's not like that's the itch that you're trying to scratch.
No. It's about a different medium. It's not about becoming famous because you're on telly. It's about what can I do that's interesting in the film world opposed to.
So you look at it streaming potentially.
Yeah, I think there's more freedom there.
Absolutely.
Like you get some weird shows on sort of Netflix and Prime and stuff like that just wouldn't.
I feel like they take more of a punt. They take more of a risk, and they're prepared to. And if it works, it works. And they've got the data.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I remember seeing a piece about Netflix's way that they make films, and they literally look at like drop off. When does somebody press stop on this? When does somebody press pause? So and that's how they build their shows. And is it likely to come back for series 2? It might be critically successful, but the data doesn't show that.
Yeah.
So it's quite an interesting way of doing it. But they'll have a punt up top, just to see. So I hope that works out. Because again, it's bringing it to more people, and that's
right. Yeah, and it's a fun process just to kind of write and develop and create a world that could be on TV. So even if it doesn't get commissioned, the process in itself and that creativity is still fun and interesting. So.
And that's an easy segue then into your book.
Yes.
And how did you find the process of writing the book and the reception of it and all those things?
It took a long time. It's not a case of, I want to do a book and okay, Tweedy, there you go, there's a book.
Yeah.
It kind of came, I'd always had it on my mind to do a kid's book. But then Nell, who's, the founder of Giffords Circus, she did a kid's book. And because she was quite ill at the time, she wanted me to go on the book tours with her, doing sort of literary festivals. And doing that with her, a lot of kind of people there in the literary world were kind of like, oh, you're perfect for these events. Have you thought about doing a kid's book? I was like, well, yes. But when I first started, it was like, no, there was lots of no, this isn't right. You haven't got it. You need to find your voice as an author, even for a picture book, which in a lot of ways, picture book's harder because there's less words to get across what you want to say. So I wrote a book for slightly older kids first, which I've done and written, and then the literary agent said, if you do a picture book, it'll be easier to get that published and then publish that one off the back of it. Yeah, I'm pleased with it because it is going back to an element of truth in there, which is, I always like to have an element of truth in what I do, which is why, me performing, it is me, it's a version of me. So Clown Lost His Nose, I did used to wear the red nose, and there is an element that you get attached, and similarly to, I fought I was only funny because I was small, and then no, that's not the reason. So there is that sort of thing behind it.
How was it for you? Because you didn't illustrate it, did you?
No.
Which,
Yeah.
as somebody that was previously interested in animation and drawing,
Yeah.
you thought, like, was that something you wanted to do, or was that something you thought, do you know what, I'll leave it to somebody else?
I did kind of say about it initially, and the literary agent was kind of. They said basically the publishers wanted an illustrator, established illustrator. You know, an illustrator was already known. And to be honest, I don't know if I'd had the time. I've got so many projects on. So yeah, they sent sort of about 5 illustrators sent examples, and then I picked.
So you had the opportunity to pick the person that you wanted to illustrate your book.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. It wasn't just a case of the publisher said,
No,
no, this is happening.
there you go. That's right. Yeah. No, I had to say, you know, sort of the design of the look of it, the design doesn't quite feel right.
It's funny. I had a book published in 2017 about PR, so my industry. So became a bestseller, did very well. But when it came to the audio, they said, I was like, so cool. Am I going to be in a booth? Am I getting in? And they said, yeah, no. And I was like, and it was, you know, with the publisher Kogan, you know, good publisher. And they said, yeah, basically. I was like, what is it? Because of my accent? You know, look, when I've had a few, I sound more farmery than, you know, than most. And they're like, no, it's, you know, it's just the established aspect. And they said, we can get somebody in that booth that'll do it in one take, and it'll take you 6.
Yeah.
And you'll be stressed about it and all that. They just said, financially, it makes perfect sense. All right, fine, I'll bow down to your bloody superior knowledge then. But yeah, I would have loved to have done it.
Yeah.
But you know, it probably worked out for the best. And the guy that did it did a great job. And I mean, I'm sure the illustrations I've seen them, they are phenomenal. They're fantastic, aren't they?
Yeah. And like I say, it's a lot of work, and it would have taken a lot. Yeah.
So essentially, you're saying then that there's a book 2.
Yes, yeah, so
there's a book 2 in
the one
place
I wrote
already.
first for older kids. They're now they think it worked great as a graphic novel because it's so kind of, the story is so visual. Brilliant. So yeah, that's in development.
What kind of age is the clown who lost his nose for?
Clown lost his nose. Well, that's kind of young kids, isn't it? It's like sort of 2 to 6 or something like that. Yeah.
And older kids, I mean, graphic novel kind of lends itself, I guess. Lots of different ages.
12 sort of thing, yeah. I mean, I'm really pleased with kind of the story behind that as well. It's got a slight depth to it as well as just being silly nonsense. So
it's about clowning as well, but
yeah, it's another sort of Tweedy adventure type thing. Yeah.
Do you think you'd do another one for the younger age group as well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because I guess you know, the clown that or the clown who. It's quite a nice serious leader, right?
Yeah.
You know, you get those ones that, I mean, what frustrates me as a parent is looking at those books, and I love getting books for my kids. It's one of my favourite things, sitting down reading with them. I've got a Cat in the Hat tattoo on my ankle, and it, you know, it's for it's because I love language, I love literature, I love reading, and you know, that was with me reading with my brother. But you know, reading with my kids, I do all the voices. I love it.
Yeah.
Everything recently has just been the thing that pooed out the thing that farted the world, and it's just like, you know, it's like we've gone to base level humor rather than actually, you know, it's like focus on the words poo and fart and vomit rather than try and make a funny or, you know, like a cogent story.
The easy way out, I suppose. I mean,
maybe.
Poo is funny, but then
poo is quite funny.
Too much poo. Really.
Yeah, you know, it can be, and then you're sort of like, yeah, I get it, and you know, the kid. I guess the reality is the kids think it's funny, so you know, you sometimes hit the baseline or you know the base level humor. It's not the worst thing in the world. You know, farts are still funny, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, on that note, a lot of people obviously think that clowning is just slapstick, but there is a real. I mean, you know, there is a real skill and discipline behind it. How do you go about building your routines?
Well, I mean, we touched on it a bit earlier of Man in Trouble. Mm-hmm. The kind of great thing, I mean, there's some clowns who will have 1 or 2 acts their entire career, and that's it. You know, they'll go from, they won't work in the same circus. They'll go all over the world with this one act. But I like to, you know, creating new things all the time. And the beauty, like, of being at Giffords and the pantomime, things like that, is they always have a different theme to them. You know, so this year it's kind of 1950s beach, which instantly the beach deck chair, straight away. So that kind of gives you the inspiration of like what can we have, and maybe there's another act in the show that I might want to parody, things like that. So I look at the theme of the show that I'm in, what other acts are in it, inspiration behind that, and also just kind of watching lots of the old vaudeville acts and things like that. There's so much inspiration.
Would you say you're quite a student of that era of performance?
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of when there was just thousands of clowns.
Who else should people watch if they're interested? And I mean, YouTube's obviously great for this sort of thing, but it doesn't have everybody, of course.
No.
Like Grimaldi, for instance, is way before. So unfortunately,
there's just kind of so many. That's the thing, and it's great now. So when I first started, I learned a bit from a guy called Johnny Hutch, who was a comedy acrobat. He went on to be Benny Hill's little fella when the original guy died, right. Jackie Wright, the guy that got his head slapped. So when he passed away, Johnny Hutch, he took over from him. So it was a fascinating guy, and he was music hall background, and he used to say, you learn by watching. He said he'd be in the wings. He was a kid when he sort of joined this comedy acrobatic troupe, and he said every show he'd be there watching the acts, and each day it'd be a new bill and it'd be a new act, watching. But of course, with that gone, it's like, where do you see things now? And I remember I'd hear about a 5-minute routine in a movie that had happened. So I'd be searching everywhere to find this video, of it, and then find this little clip. And then I was working with this other guy, this other famous clown actually, and he said, "Oh, you had it easy. You're the video era." He said, "I wasn't the video era. I'd hear about a film and wait for it to come out in a obscure cinema and drive over there and wait for this little bit and watch." So that's why we're so lucky now with YouTube. You can just see so much, and it is just about watching and observing so much different stuff, and you just pick up little bits and observe.
I mean, the most creative people I know are the ones that have the most various, inputs.
Yeah.
So and the depth and breadth and difference of those inputs is important too. Like, from in my career, again, PR, creativity. It's not just reading and watching the things that other people are. It's you might have an idea that's based on this. This book you read as a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's, I think creativity for me, and, potentially, as you're saying, there is about the depth, breadth and width of the things that you consume.
Yeah.
Because, you might watch something on TV and go, that'd be quite funny if I did this in that way.
Yeah.
Are you still, I guess, do you write your routines down? Like, is it a physical thing, or do you just build and remember?
No, I do write a lot down. Yeah.
So you've got a notebook filled with ideas somewhere.
Yeah, I've got various notebooks, and then I can't remember which notebook I wrote it in, and and all that sort of thing. It's great to write stuff down, because I'll have an idea, and there's been times where years later I've gone, what was that idea? And then gone back to it, and then gone, oh yeah.
So it wasn't right then, but it might be right now.
Yeah, you don't know when you'll end up using it, and yeah.
Now you've talked about being at Giffords obviously since, well, from an early stage of Giffords.
Yeah.
What's kept you at Giffords?
It's a fun show, and it's kind of a unique audience. People that come to Giffords, a lot of them, they feel like it's their show because they come every year, and they feel they kind of take a bit of ownership to it and feel very much part of it. So yeah, the audiences are great. The fact that it's a different show each year means I get to bring in different things. So that's kind of why I've been. Just
a variation for you.
Yeah.
So are other circuses different to that? Do they perform similar shows most years?
Yeah, and there's not a theme, and it's more just a succession of acts with kind of whatever their music is.
Right.
So there's not, one act might have sort of a classical music, and then the next act might have, sort of a big dance track, so it's not, you know what I mean? It's very like, one, there's an act, there's an act, there's an act.
Whereas this is put together in
Yeah,
a package.
and that's another sort of reason I've stayed, is that it's a lot more theatrical. You've got the live band, you've got a bit of a narrative arc.
I love the live band. It's fantastic. It feels like you're watching. It feels like you're being treated not just to a live band, but to performances at the same time as, you know. It's like there's just so much going on at all times.
Yeah.
And you know, you can choose to watch over there. You can choose to watch it. There's just something going on everywhere.
And that's why a lot of people come multiple times, because
you can experience it in different ways each time.
Yeah. So that's another reason.
What brought you to Giffords? Because obviously you mentioned we touched on Nell.
Yeah, so I knew Nell. I met Nell before Giffords was created. She was a groom when I first met her on a circus.
A groom, so she worked with horses.
Yeah, mucks them out essentially.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
okay, so she wasn't actually in the circus. She was.
She rode. Yeah, she rode a. Oh no, I don't think she was even in the show when I first met her. I think she literally was scooping the poop.
Wow. So I mean, I look around now and I see all the painted wagons and somebody that once scooped horse poo. Again, you know, I mean, I wish I could talk to her. I think it would be incredible.
And this is her old living wagon.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, I now feel
so
honoured
to
be in here.
So I met Nell, and we got on well. We became friends, and she kind of said, "Oh, I'm starting a circus. Oh, that's interesting." And I didn't see it the first couple of years, and it was so small. You know, it was almost like a sort of large marquee.
Where would you play?
Well, right round here still.
Yeah.
You know, sort of Cheltenham Way and all that sort of thing. And they didn't do as long. Like the first tour, I think, was 6 weeks, and that was it. Hale Wye is where it first happened. So basically, she wrote a book called Josser, which Josser is kind of an outsider to circus. You know,
somebody that's not born into a circus family.
Yeah, going back to the old days where, you know, you basically, if you're in the circus, you had to be born into it. It was very difficult to kind of come in as an outsider, so you'd be known as Joss.
Is it a derogative term? Or derogatory?
It is a bit, yeah. It's kind of like earning your stripes, you know what I mean? Once you've been there sort of a year or two, then you're not a Josser anymore. You're you're part of the community. So she wrote this book of her experience of being, you know, working as a groom in the circus, and she went to Germany and worked in the sort of big, well, one of the best circuses in Europe, Roncalli. She worked there. So she wrote this book anyway, Josser, which is a great book. And the Hay&Y Literary Festival invited her to come and, you know, do a book event. And she said, "Oh, well, can I bring my circus?" Now, "Oh, okay, bring a circus." And because she didn't have a circus. So then she had to find a circus. So that's kind of how it was born. And I saw it in 2002. And I just really loved it. I loved the intimacy of it. Like I say, it was tiny then, and the theatricality of it. But I'd left Zippos at that point and done a few other things. I'd been at Disney, things like that. But I was going back to Zippos in 2003. So then 2003, I went to see the show again, and that's when I spoke to Nell and kind of went, "Do you think if I came?" And one of the things she said is, "Yes, but I don't want you with the full clown makeup," which I wore in Zippos. And it's like, well, it's perfect, because that's...
You can't want to shed that anyway, maybe.
I don't really want to do that style anyway. So, yeah, and I came, and it just seemed like a good fit for us both. Yeah, it just seemed to work really well for both of us. You know, for me, fitting into the circus, it just seemed like a sort of natural fit.
And your relationship with her, obviously it was a decades-long relationship.
Yeah.
And we should say she did sadly die of breast cancer.
Yeah.
When was it? Couple of years ago now, was it?
2019 it was.
2019. Is it that long ago?
Yeah.
COVID changes everything. COVID skews everything, doesn't it?
Because the timeline is like, so she missed out on the whole COVID fiasco, which, yeah.
How do you reflect now on that relationship?
Oh, it was great. We just used to laugh like all the time and come in here. And I mean, I was kind of a stress relief, because obviously running a circus is is no sort of mean feat, and there's so much stress, and you're kind of responsible for all these people, and because you're all living together, working together, you've got all that drama.
And there's problems. I mean, I've employed dozens of people at one time. That person's got this issue. That person's, my cat's this. My dog's that.
And you can't go home at the end of the day. Yeah. You're still here. So I kind of saw myself as a stress relief. I come in and we just kind of laugh and joke about the whole thing. And we just had a really fun friendship, fun bond.
How, I guess, you started at the Everyman doing the pantomimes every Christmas. Can you remember when you started that?
That was 2011.
Okay.
It was. Oh no, it might have been 12. I can't remember. It was when I came back from America, and I did Cornwall Truro for a couple of years because I'd been there prior to going to America. And that's when I came to the Everyman after that.
And how, obviously, I know the obvious differences, but for you as a performer, what are the differences between the pantomime and the circus?
You don't have to deal with mud or rain.
Very true.
You're exposed to the elements with the circus. So come winter time, it is good to get into a building. Panto, there's a definite story, and I am sort of essentially meant to be a character in that story, but I am just Tweedy in whatever that Panto may be. There's a lot more kind of innuendo, ridiculous sort of gags, and a script essentially. There's little sort of snippets of scripts in the Giffords, but not to the extent of Panto.
How much is ad-libbed in the Panto? Because there are certain times where I've been to see it with the children, and it feels ad-libbed, but maybe is or isn't.
There are moments that feel ad-libbed that aren't, but generally I will try and do something different every show.
Right. Is that just to keep the cast guessing?
Yeah, and
have some fun with it.
And it's more fun. And like you say, it works well when the audience think they're seeing something that nobody else has seen, or it's going wrong, thing like that. It's fun, and it brings you together. So I will sometimes, quite often, deliberately sabotage things to see what happens. Like last year, we had sort of a schoolroom scene, which meant the whole cast was on stage for that. So I'd always try and do something in that moment that was different or mess something up, because it was fun for the cast, it's fun for the audience, and there's nothing worse if you start doing that sort of joke where the audience don't know. You know what I mean? Where it's purely for you and the cast. That's when it becomes self-indulgent. So it is finding that right balance of making sure the audience are in on any sort of joke or anything that's going wrong.
What's the worst thing that has gone wrong? In pantomime or circus or any performance? What when you think back? So you touched on the violin. But that sound, you made that a success. So how, is there anything that's gone like dramatically terribly wrong and you think, oh my God, I wish that didn't happen?
I can't really think. I mean, the worst sort of thing like that where it's like, oh, this is bad, wasn't circus and theatre. It's when I decided to go to a stand-up club, and this was early in my career. I thought, oh yeah, stand up. Let's try sort of doing what I do in a stand-up club. And it was this club in the south of London. It was called Up the Creek, and I went there for this sort of tryout night, And he introduced me, and now we've got a clown who thinks he's funny. He's going to try and make us laugh.
Excellent, cheers, mate.
Yeah, so I was dead before I went on there, and that was sort of a pretty bad experience. But then.
Is that a context is everything kind of example, lesson where
you have to win the audience over, and if
that's the worst introduction ever.
Well, I found out afterwards that like professional comedians said to me, "Well, I avoid Up the Creek, and I'm an established comedian."
Right.
Malcolm Hardy he was notorious for that type of thing, And so it was me not kind of researching and work,
So have you done any stand-up since then?
No,
or has it absolutely scarred you?
No, but I wasn't doing stand-up either. I was kind of doing what I do in that environment, and it's not really set up for that type of comedy. I mean, what's interesting, I don't know if you know the boy with tape on his face, Tape Face. He did the sort of bits over here for a while, and then he went to America and got really far in America's Got Talent,
Right,
and
no, I didn't see
then
him.
got like a Vegas residency. And he's kind of clown, does stuff, and it's interesting because he wanted to do like a silent character, but he physically couldn't do it, so he put a bit of gaff tape on his mouth. And that worked really well when he did his stuff in a stand-up club, because the rhythm of kind of stand-up and visual comedy is different. And if you come out and start sort of doing visual stuff and physical stuff, people are still waiting. Well, they're waiting for you to talk the whole time. So coming out with that tape in your face, you know instantly, okay, this guy's not going to tell jokes. So that's off the table. So then you just start watching. And so I thought it was a really clever device to work that environment. But I did that. I flopped at that, and I thought, well, I'm not really interested in doing that type of performing to drums.
It's a hell of a thing to put yourself
Anyway.
out. That's yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to the Comedy Store recently, and it's such a gift. It's such a craft and such an art to be good at that.
Yeah.
I interviewed somebody for this. He's done Live at the Apollo, and you can just tell some people have got it.
Yeah.
Like he absolutely has it, and it was just incredible to see. It was the capacity there. Have you been to the Comedy Store?
Yeah, not for a long time.
It's not huge, is it? Was it 400 people, something like that? But it was just hanging on his every word, and it is, as you say, it's just, I love to watch people that love what they do, and just like, I guess just so practiced at it that he makes it look, because I'd seen that routine, obviously in researching for the interview, I'd seen that routine, or those routines, those bits put together 20 times, but it was like he was telling it for the first time, and it's just phenomenal. Really was pretty special. You got a British...
Can I go to the toilet?
Of course you can.
Too much.
Of course you can. Absolutely. You're going to be able to get yourself through. Jesus, sorry, I've set up a bit of a gauntlet for you.
Yeah. I can do it.
Sorry.
Can I do it?
I'm sure you can. I'm happy to help move. This is... Tom Cruise would be proud.
This is where I kick it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just be a second.
No problem. There he is.
Right.
Very well done.
Ta-da.
And he's back.
Yeah. That's better.
There we go. Just watching you squeeze through the cameras there.
Yeah.
Do you do any training? Do you exercise much?
I started doing yoga just over a year ago, just like 20 minutes in the morning, because I'm terrible. I never like warm up before a show and stuff like that.
Oh, right, you just go straight out.
Yeah, and I kind of never have, and probably should. So I started doing yoga.
Did you have any injuries or something that led you to think, I probably should warm up, or any aches or pains? Or
Well, yeah, I mean, I get lots of aches and pains, and occasionally my back will play up a bit. So yeah, I just thought.
What sort of yoga? You practicing it by yourself? Do you go somewhere? Do you?
Down Dog app.
Oh, right, okay.
Which you can kind of choose different things, and yeah, it's very good. It's just easy just to get up in the morning and just do it, and then that's it done.
And you eat pretty clean. You don't drink, do you? And
no, so I had an accident a long time ago, and punctured my pancreas.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
They
said,
was it an on-stage accident?
No, but I was clowning at the time. I had a stilt bike, so it's a bike you ride whilst wearing stilts, and it was so high I could ride alongside a double-decker bus and knock on the upstairs window. So we were on a circus parade. This is with Zippos, in Sheffield, and I was on the bike and people were walking, and there was like a parade float and all that sort of thing, and they went under a low bridge that I couldn't fit under it. So I was like doing a detour, but then I fell off, and the handlebars landed on the handlebars. So I was just I just felt like winded, but then I couldn't actually get back up.
Right.
So I then had to like take the stilts off, and I kind of tried to hide this big bike and everything as best I could, and then hitchhike back to the circus. This is in full clown thing.
Somebody had the best day of their lives that day.
Yeah, give me a lift back.
The most memorable hitchhike ever.
I got a van, went back, got all the stuff, went back, started doing the show, and then like sort of interval, I just was suddenly in like extreme pain, and they were like, "Oh, we'll have to get you up to A&E," and there was nobody to take me, so they bundled me in a taxi, went up to A&E. A&E, I saw someone eventually, and they basically said, "Oh, yeah, no, you're fine."
Right. Cheers.
Went back. I'm walking across the field to the circus and collapsed. And then some poor family found this collapsed clown in the field. So then back up to the hospital. This time they took me in. And I'm on the trolley wheelie bed and knocking all the stuff down. Because I've got the big clown shoes on. They're like, "Can you just try and keep your feet in the bed?" I'm like, "All right, yeah." And I ended up in hospital for about a month whilst they were kind of keeping an eye on it. And then they let me out, and then I relapsed. So then the circus was going to Cardiff, so somebody drove me to Cardiff. So I went to Cardiff Hospital. And I got my own room. Well, initially I was on the drip, so I was not being fed, I was on the drip. But then they took me off that because I was using that as a scooter. Like, we have to get them off. And then I got my own room because I was just being so annoying in the ward. Because, it's just like...
Well, that pent up, you just...
energy and everything.
Yeah.
And then I genuinely thought I died because I woke up in the room. There was loads of doctors and nurses in the room, and they were crying. I was like, "What's going on? Have I died?" But what it was, I had a TV in my room, and there wasn't many TVs in the hospital, and it was Princess Diana had died. So they were all in the room watching the news, crying Princess Diana died. So it's like a very surreal moment. So yeah, in answer to that, and in a long way, I don't drink alcohol because I punctured my pancreas.
I mean, how is it now?
Well, it's fine now, but I've not I'm not drunk since.
Right.
But I did used to drink quite a lot then, do silly things. So I kind of think it was
That's a long time. That's getting on for 30 years.
Yeah, nearly, 97, I think. Yeah. Yes, this is a long time I've been not had a drink at all.
And you don't miss it at all?
No, it's been so long now.
Yeah, of course.
I found it very difficult initially.
I guess, how old would you have been then?
Well, I'd have been in my sort of 20s, 23.
Yeah. So it's a time when you're going out with mates and all that sort of thing. And
yeah, so that was very difficult. And there was a lot more of a sort of drinking culture back then.
Yeah. It's easier now not to, right?
I think so, yeah. Like my daughter's age and all that sort of thing, it's not the same culture as it was.
They don't go out. There aren't clubs. There aren't, the late night bars.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's all about coffees now.
That's the thing. It's entirely changed in fitness and, the things that, my first real job after there was a ill-advised bank job. Not one of those kind of bank jobs. But, I worked as a personal trainer. And fitness women didn't train then. Women didn't go on to, train with weights and things like that.
Yeah.
It was me trying to encourage them to.
Yeah.
And this is only 2006, 7, so it's changed enormously since then. So the whole culture of health, fitness, diet, nutrition, all of these things has just changed massively for the better.
Yeah.
I guess a lad from Scotland, who's, who's got all this pent up energy. I bet you on a few beers is probably quite funny.
Well, yeah. I used to do a lot of ridiculous things.
Almost you don't need it, right? You've got the energy, the imagination, the silliness to do the things that some people it takes that drink to bring them out of their social shell.
Yeah.
Almost. What's harder? Is it harder to make a kid laugh or make an adult laugh?
An adult.
Why?
Because kids are just far more open anyway. They'll laugh, they'll cry within.
That's very true.
You can just drop something continually, and that's enough for a kid.
You talked about obviously the stilt cycle. That sounds pretty dangerous. Have you done anything more dangerous than that?
Been shot out the cannon.
How was that?
That was that was the most scary thing I've done because.
Yeah, do you get scared?
No, not that much, but that one because there was no plan B. I don't know how we got away with it because if I got shot out of the cannon and caught a rope, and if I missed the rope, I would have been in the audience. So it was like.
So you were literally.
There was a rope like that. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a big cannon,
right?
But I was still.
I love that. I got shot out of a cannon. It wasn't massive. It was.
Yeah. Because the tent was smaller than it was now, but I was shot out and caught a rope. If I missed the rope, I'd have carried on going in.
Crowd surfing.
Yeah. And I did used to say, get ready to catch me, and everyone thought it was a joke. But
no, please get ready to catch bigger ones out, please. Yeah. Come on.
So that was because there was one show where it was slightly off, so I came out and literally had to go like that as much as possible to get it, and then of course went into a big spin because I'd hit it. And it's the only thing that my wife said she genuinely,
please don't do that again.
Yeah, it was relieved. The director said for a few years, the director would be like, maybe you should get the cannon back. I'm like, no, I've done that.
Can we not?
Yeah. And then the following year, there was an article in the Sun that I saw just passing of this guy that had broken both his legs, and I looked at the photo and it's like, that's our old cannon, because we'd rented it out to the show, and I was like, and that's how I found out that this guy had he'd missed him. So so I was lucky. It was a lot of fun, and it was one of those moments where everyone thought I wasn't going to follow it to the final conclusion. It was like, oh, he's doing funny stuff with a big cannon.
Right. Did you put crash helmet on and all that, or
and that caught fire.
You just have a habit of getting caught on fire,
just to make it a bit more dangerous. It was the moment of actually getting shot out. People were genuinely like, oh wow.
It must have been. How far were you going?
It was. Well, I could show you a video clip. It was probably. It was probably only 3 meters by and 3 meters high.
Right. What's the mechanics of getting shot out of a cannon? What? Is it gunpowder still? What's the?
No, the so the big ones that you get that they kind of use in arenas and stuff like that is compressed air.
Right.
The one we had was really thick bungee.
Right.
So there'd be a platform and it'd get winched back.
Right.
It's a bungee so strong, and then a hook would clip onto it. And basically, press a button to release the hook.
Platform goes.
Yeah. So this was the other thing that had, because it got made in America by this human cannon that I'd worked with when I was over there, and I'd said to Circus about this idea of being shot out of the cannon, and it kind of gone out my head, and then I get this message: the cannon's arrived. I didn't even realise that they were having it built. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to.
Now I said it.
So when we were practicing, I got so battered because I didn't realise that I kind of accidentally trained my body for doing slapstick and pratfalls to relax as soon as I'm in danger. It's like when you're drunk, you don't really hurt yourself because you fall like this, and when you're rigid and tense is when you hurt yourself. But with the cannon, you had to be as tight as you could for this thing to do that. But I just had this problem of you do the countdown, and as soon as the moment came, my body automatically released the tension because I go, oh, danger. But that meant you just like, you like hit yourself against the cannon. So I was training like before rehearsals started. Everyone arrived at rehearsals, and my nose, my chin, my knees, my elbows, they were all like scabs. And they're like, what are you doing? I can show you the cannon. It's like, oh, jeez. But I got there eventually, but it was just kind of weird to retrain my body into how everyone naturally would be anyway.
What's life like off stage for you?
Off stage, I find it very difficult to relax. I'm always like, oh, I'll do something. I don't know, my brain's just that way. So I'll always kind of be practicing something, or playing something, or watching stuff.
Do you sit down with a book ever?
Occasionally. I mean, I've got a lot of books, sort of biographies of comedians and clowns and things like that. So, yeah, I do occasionally. But I like reading, but my focus isn't great.
Like, what's a typical kind of family weekend for?
Well, we don't have them.
I guess you don't during the season, right?
And and days off. Usually, I was just at Edinburgh doing this other show. The thing is, I love doing what I do, so to relax, I would do what I do, So I mean, I've not been on proper holidays. I can't even think when.
What's proper holidays like? Going abroad, going somewhere hot, sunny.
Well, like normal people do.
Go to Spain.
We just never really do it. I mean, the last couple of years we've went to Monte Carlo in January because there's a huge circus festival.
Right, so it's still because of there's something related to what you do.
It's always got to be, if we go somewhere, connected to it somehow.
So friends and family get the same Tweedy at home, at the circus. Near enough.
I mean, Willow will say it's worse at home.
Because you've got less of an audience.
Well, yeah, and I'm just even more relaxed, so I'm even more silly, So, yeah.
And what's Willow like? You mentioned to me off camera that she's now front of house
manager. Yeah. So she wasn't going to go into the business at all. She was kind of forensic science, psychology, all this kind of things. And then last minute, when we were looking at unis and stuff, she went, I'm just going to have a look at one like performance-y place, Guildford, I think it was. But to do the backstage stuff, stage managing.
So she never had that kind of get up and, I've got to be on stage.
No, not at all. And wasn't, like I say, wasn't going to do sort of the business at all. But then ended up doing a course in stage managing and all the kind of backstage stuff, which is finished now. And now I'm back here doing front of house manager. But that's what's kind of strange is that, because we've moved around a lot, obviously, and lived in different places, but this has been the most stable thing in our life, Giffords Circus. This is kind of what you probably call home the most. Like last year, I didn't tour here. I did my own little show, Tweedy's massive circus, even though it was tiny. But Willow was still here. So, yeah.
And is that, I guess, the longest you've spent apart?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the beauty of it is that they can always come along. Because I got my caravan, so I just come and stay in the caravan.
Was she born when you were in America?
No, I'd taken time out from... I was actually in Disneyland Paris, but then came back for getting...
What did you do at Disneyland?
It was a Wild West show. Right. So I'd left Zippos and I wasn't quite sure. I was looking at maybe sort of things other than circus where I could clown. Whilst my wife got sort of this job at managing, front of house manager, funnily enough, for various theatres in Worthing. So she had a job so I could kind of work out what I was going to do. And then realised she was pregnant, so I had to get a job. And then I got this job at Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. They were looking for like, comedy performers. So I auditioned. They're like, great, yeah, great. And then I had to do a horse audition, which wasn't as good. But they were like, we'll train you up. So it's a recreation of an old Wild West show, which was very interesting because most of the performers weren't performers. They were actual cowboys.
Right.
And,
Wow. Okay.
And not Native American, they were actually Native Canadian. But so suddenly this Scottish guy who can't ride very well appears, and I'm, why is this guy in the show? So there was a bit of that, and then I did the show like, oh, okay, he's funny, that's why. But it was very interesting. I mean, the cowboys and the Native Canadians, they had separate dressing rooms, and every now and again it would kick off, and I'm like, really, this is
Actually kick off?
Yeah, this is still a thing, you know. It's like you get cowboy and Indian movies when you were a kid, and now it's like that's really,
there is actually a dislike.
yeah, there's still I guess that there always will be that a bit of an aminosity. Is that the right word?
Animosity,
Yeah. But yeah, it was an interesting show to work on.
How long did you work at Disneyland for?
It was only about 6 months or something like
Oh,
that.
okay.
You know, wife's pregnant. I
Mickey,
leave the country.
Yeah, yeah, good work.
Yeah.
Good work.
Yeah, I mean it was a lot of fun to have a pass and be able to go into.
I bet to go to
Disney
the backstage and to see
every
it all.
day.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like, did it retain its magic for you as a performer there still? Like, was that something you felt like, the Disney magic, the idea that it's this big special thing as a performer? Did you still feel that?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of lucky in that the show I was in was not a Disney show.
Yeah, I guess there's not like Donald Duck knocking around.
So it was his own thing, and we do parades to kind of advertise our show through Disney sometimes, and I deliberately do this sort of what they call in America. They had a thing of hobo clowns, which is kind of like the tramp clown, because they used to ride the railroads and all that sort of thing. So I deliberately did this sad, dirty character for Disney, which Disney hated. But it was funny because it was such a contrast to everything Disney was about being bright and colourful.
There's fireworks there.
There's this little sad character coming along. It worked very well, but they didn't like it.
Right. So you didn't get asked back.
Yeah. Well, they did what they. As I say, the company were different from Disney. Yeah. They wanted me to stay. And it was weird because I went back not that long ago. So this was like 15 years later. And there was loads of the people there the same people
Wow.
that had been on that
Did they remember you?
Same show. Yeah, that same show for
That's incredible. So they're still doing Buffalo Bill's Wild West show?
I'm not sure if they are now. It got changed about 5 years ago. I think Disney then took it over and Mickey Mouse was in it and all that sort of thing. So when I saw it, it was like, oh, it's not
quite,
because it felt quite authentic when I was in it, and then suddenly it was all Disneyified, and I was a bit like, oh, it's not quite
as it was.
Yeah.
So you're touring, you're working the States, Madison Square Garden. We've mentioned it a couple of times. What was that? What were we performing there? What was the show there?
Ringling Brothers Barnum Bailey, the greatest show on earth.
Wow, there we go.
Bit of a mouthful, but it's an iconic show. I mean, they made the Cecil DeMille movie, The Greatest Show on Earth. That is that show, Ringling Brothers Barnum Bailey. So it's a big sort of American institution. They have this whole thing of, it's Ringling Brothers Barnum Bailey. It's older than baseball. It's older than Coca-Cola. So it was kind of, oh, this is a big deal to be offered to do this.
Was it daunting?
Yeah, and I went to rehearsals and I didn't really understand what the show was. I was I don't quite get it. And they had two units because it takes that long to tour America. Right. So we're rehearsing in Florida and they flew me to Chicago to go and watch the other show so I could kind of get my head around it. And I was like, oh, because it's a big arena, and I walked out and it's like, like say about 10,000 people, and you're looking up and there's like, oh, the seats up there. So try
the nosebleeds, right? That's what they call them.
So try to perform in that sort of vastness.
Which is very different to the much more intimate
version.
version.
It's very difficult. It's harder to kind of get your timing and know what's funny when you can't really, you don't have that connection, and you can't really,
even with the people just in the immediate rows.
Yeah, well, the performance space is still
so huge that you
the
can't
size
really
of like
see
a football pitch. So it was difficult. It was a great experience. We lived and travelled in the circus train, which is like an amazing way to see America. We did 92 cities, I think. So we did a 2-year tour. And you see parts of America you just wouldn't see because you're on the railroads. So you'd be living in the train, and our train car was about the size of this wagon we're in now, and it had everything in it, cooker and washer, dryer, shower and all that. And you'd be sitting there while you're travelling. You could just carry on, and there was a vestibule where you could, basically you're sat outside, so you're sitting there going through the desert to Vegas.
Hell of an experience,
and so it was an amazing experience, but the show itself, you didn't quite
vibe with it in the same way that
you and they couldn't understand, because they wanted me to do another tour, another 2 years, and I was kind of like, and they couldn't understand. It's the greatest show on earth. You want to go back to that tiny little show in a field? I'm like, yeah, because you have that intimacy, you have that contact with the audience.
That's interesting. It shows what you truly value in your performances, and it's what it does for other people.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that those 10,000 people love the show.
Yeah.
But is it more that it's just a crazy spectacle as opposed to a performance that you can feel?
Yeah, you're part of a big spectacle, and it is, for me, it's about that connection, and trying to make that connection is very difficult when they're so far away.
I mean, P.T. Barnum's a big one for me, again, working in PR for 18 years.
Yeah. That's what the show is as well. Yeah. It's P.T. Barnum partnered up with the Ringling Brothers.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know of him, obviously, most people know of him through The Greatest Showman, which is absolutely nothing like. What I love is they've absolutely sanitized P.T. Barnum, who was, let's be clear, not a nice human being.
Yeah.
Not a nice man. I know him because I love publicity stunts and PR stunts, and I created a whole site that was dedicated to creative stunts and campaigns. And I love just creative PR. Like Barnum used to be quite the publicity master. He used to do things like, he had a mermaid. I forget what kind of mermaid it was, but effectively it was just a monkey sewn onto a fish and things like this. See this. I think it was a Scottish giant. It was just a statue. And so he was amazing at bringing people. But in that show, it absolutely makes him out to be like this lovely man. He's, hey guys, we're all about diversity. It's like, you're a freak, you're a freak, you're a freak. Cool, come pay to see these freaks, and that's so. Almost, I resent that they've sanitized him to such a point. Because not the night, as he said.
No,
not cool. What's been your favourite audience moment or reaction, or do any jump out to you when you think of moments with the audience? We're talking about connection with your crowd, with your audience.
I remember going from working Zippos and then going back to pantomime. So my first pantomime was a tiny theatre in Scotland called Haddo House Hall, which was kind of part of a National Trust estate. That's where I did youth theatre. So going from Zippos back to there, and I remember suddenly every little movement could get a laugh, because Zippos was bigger than Giffords'. So to suddenly have that focus, I remember kind of that being a point, and that kind of felt like where I was just really getting a good understanding. It would have been 95, so it was, I'd done a year in the circus, and here I was back doing pantomime, and there was a moment then where I was kind of like, it felt like things were
like a real mastery. I had that when playing the piano. When you start to bring hands together, you go, oh, it's obviously with the guitar, it's like I can pick, it's like, oh, it feels like it's supposed to. People said that this would happen. Where every little thing makes a difference. It would be remiss of me not to say that you have a tattoo on your hand. You have a tattoo of Keith. We'll zoom in. Keith the Iron. Now, where did Keith come from? And how long have you been?
Keith it's a rescue iron. Literally, it was an iron that was in the bin.
Really?
From the wardrobe backstage. And I used to always go out before the show and sort of do a walk around and things like that. And I just always an iron there. So dragged it behind me because it's a very childlike thing just to be dragging, a random object. And it just got a good reaction. It's like, oh, what's that with my pet iron? And then I kept it, and now I can't really go anywhere without having an iron. Which, yeah.
Then is it the same Keith?
What? He's a bit like Doctor Who.
Okay,
He
right.
regenerates.
What moved you to get a tattoo of Keith?
Oh, complete whim. I'd been to the dentist, and I think I'd had a tooth out, and I was just walking past the tattoo place. Came back. Willow went mad. It's like, you went to the dentist, you come back with a tattoo. Yay! Because it works as well. You can actually iron your clothes with it.
I mean, Keith plays a big part in, for anybody that hasn't seen it, in, both Panto and in Giffords. Not a big part in the sense of he's a starring role.
No, it's just there.
But it's there, and people are like, oh my God, there's Keith, which is that must be quite lovely because again, my kids were like, oh, do you think he's going to have Keith? Just before the last circus, and so I don't know, maybe
it's funny what gets people, because
I think people just love absurdity and silliness, and the world's too serious a place, right? I think we can all agree that it's a pretty heavy place right now, and it has been for years. So you see a bloke with a pet iron, a rescue pet iron, and there's something wonderful about it.
Yeah, and that's again, like when you create material and things like that, it's quite often the things that you don't expect or you wouldn't think of, you know what I mean? Which is why it's nice when things just sort of naturally come about.
Yeah. I think, have you ever been to the Haunted Hayride Night Over? When they do the Halloween.
Oh no, I know the one you mean.
What's it called? The Frightmare.
Yeah, I don't think it's there anymore.
It's not there anymore. No, they stopped doing it a couple of years ago. They tried to do it in the centre of Gloucester. I'm not sure it was quite the venue that it was at and over. I mean, we went there. I used to love it, but there was a clown there. More of a horror clown. An evil clown or whatever. And I think he had an iron as well. I think.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, people told me about that, and I don't know if it's coincidence or he had an iron before me. I don't know. I should ask him because I do know him.
Do you know him?
Yeah,
he's a phenomenal performer. He was a staple bit of that whole thing.
No, he's very good. Joe May's name.
Joe May.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, just terrifying.
Yeah.
Just absolutely. Doing his thing over in that sense. That I guess part of clowning for him. The evil side of things. Yeah, absolutely terrifying. And when my kids were still young, he'd still sticking his fingers up at them and things like that. And, it's like they're 6, mate. 8.
Yeah.
But
So it was just talking about the whole kind of horror thing. I did actually work for a show, Circus of Horrors, years ago, where I kind of had to do a similar sort of role. I just got asked by the guy. There's a guy, Dr. Hayes, who actually was very good at PR. He had some great ideas. They needed somebody to do this sort of comic role, and it was January, February, March, which was often my sort of downtime between pantomime and circus. So I took it on and did that. Did sort of. I said it was a completely different character. Sharon said, no, it's exactly the same, you're just a bit more rude. I was like, oh, okay.
Right. So you were effectively like, Tweedy's evil brother.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think, you used to call me Twisted Tweedy, the MC, old Dr. Hayes.
There's something of the kind of like wrestling, WWE about that, isn't there? The whole baby face is Tweedy, heel is Twisted Tweedy. And was that fun playing that character?
Yeah, no, I had a fun time, and he had a book. Well, he still has a book. I mean, he sadly passed away, Dr. Hayes, but he had a book, and there's a whole section of kind of things that I messed up when I was on the show. He had a catchphrase: "Never trust a clown." Never trust a clown. Yeah, just because of silly things. There was one where we'd have a stooge in the audience, and this is when you used to, you could smoke everywhere back then, but you weren't meant to smoke in the tent. So there'd be parts of the show where this person would start to light up, and he'd stop, no, excuse me, you can't smoke. Then the third time he'd go, no, I've told you, this third time, Tweedy, come on. And I come on with a bucket of water, full bucket of water over the person, and security would take them out. And this one show, he leaned over to me and went, "Get Gus." And I thought, well, who's Gus? I thought Gus must be the guy sat next to the girl who's the stooge. So I threw this full bucket of water over this guy. And then we came out and he went, "What are you doing? That guy's just paid top prices sitting there throwing a bucket of water." I said, "You said throw it over Gus." He went, "No, I said throw it with gusto." I was like, gusto?
Who says gusto?
Gusto. You're meant to be like Prince of Darkness, evil character, and you're saying throw it with gusto. So yeah, this poor guy paid like full price.
Sorry,
a whole
Gus.
bucket of water over him.
What's left for you to do?
Left for me to do.
Any dreams that you're like, right, haven't fulfilled that thing, like what's any collaborations, any venues that you've not played at?
Oh gosh, there's loads, and there's constantly kind of loads of ideas, things like that. Like I say, I'm developing, a possible sort of TV thing. I've done a bit of acting, which I did last year. I did Midsummer Night's Dream, which was kind of fun. But before that, I did Waiting for Godot, which I really liked because it felt.
Shamefully, I've not seen it. I don't know the story. I don't know anything about it.
Well, that's kind of not a story. That's kind of the weird thing. It's a weird play, but the characters to me are sort of very definite clown, but it's kind of exploring clown in a theatrical way, and also kind of real melancholy sort of downside, sort of darker side, but not in a I was scared clown kind of way.
In that kind of Tears of a Clown kind of way.
Yeah, it's hard to describe if you haven't seen kind of Beckett's work, but yeah, that's interesting, and sort of looking at more theatrical side of clown is interesting. Yeah, I just love what I do, and exploring different aspects of clown I find really interesting.
And lots of different opportunities still come your way. People are like, "Hey, have you thought about this sort of thing?" Or you take those sort of things to people.
Yeah, and just kind of just having ideas and just playing all the time.
Thinking about that whole Tears of a Clown notion, you don't strike me as somebody that the whole. I mean, what's that joke? It's semi-joke. The guy that goes to the doctor and the doctor says, "I know what depressed." He's very depressed.
That story first appeared, as far as I know, anyway, in Grimaldi's biography of I'm depressed. You should go and see Grimaldi, but I am Grimaldi. And funnily enough, that story reappeared in Grock's book as well.
And have you met clowns before that might be the case for?
I had. I mean, fortunately, I've not had any of those kind of issues. I mean, Robin Williams is the kind of.
He's the one that first came to my mind.
One of the kind of obvious ones, but I've been very lucky in that. Yeah,
this, I guess it fits an obvious and convenient narrative for the person that makes most people laugh to be the person that's the least happy, I guess. So it's I'm sure there's some truth to it for some people, but for a lot of people, like for you, was it just I like to make people laugh? I like, dare I say, the attention that you get from it,
and I like having fun. And a lot of things that I do that make people laugh, I'll do when there's not an audience there, for my own amusement.
It makes you laugh.
Makes me laugh. Which is why, me at home can quite often be worse than...
If you give advice to a child watching this, or listening to this, and I've tried to make sure that the swearing has been nil, because I'm aware that you obviously have an audience. Any kid watching this that thinks, I want to be Tweedy, I want to do what Tweedy does.
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Well, I mean, I'd say to any kid, regardless of if they want to do what I do, is just do what you love. And to do what I do, that's what I do. I do what I love, and I practice. I'm playing banjo this morning. I'll practice magic. I mean, what I love about what I do is there's so much fun things. There's juggling, there's circuses. So it is about putting the work in. I mean, I don't see it as work, I see it as fun, but you do have to practice. You have to practice. So that kind of be the main thing is you got to practice. And it's the same with anything, isn't it? You've got to put the work in, but if you love it, you don't see it as work. So that's a beautiful thing.
So you're never juggling and you think, God, this is dull. Why am I doing this?
Well, when it gets to that point, I jump on to the next thing. Do a bit of magic. Right. Oh, it's boring now. Okay, I'll play some music.
I guess if you want a clown,
yeah,
what would you be doing?
I don't know. I do love music. I mean, it would be fun to be a musician, but I'm not good enough to be a musician.
What sort of musician? Like playing in a band? Would you?
Good one.
A good one.
I don't really know, but
so I guess it'd be much like you do now. So you've still got the performance aspect. You've still got the practice.
So it's not really that different, but I honestly don't know what I'd do. And it's similar with clowning in that doing what I do now, I could have done it in any point of history nearly, So maybe that's why I'm so into sort of Celtic music at the moment, is the sort of the tradition of it and the fact that it's been around for a long time.
Do you think if you'd have been born a few hundred years ago, you'd have been a jester or somebody that
I'd hope so, yeah.
Yeah, somebody that I guess you speak truth to power in a funny way.
Yeah,
in a way that prods, cajoles, and it's like, I want to behead you, but I can't.
Yeah, that's another thing I just love about what I do is the timelessness of it.
I mean, as I said, while looking at some of the people you've mentioned in interviews I've seen or heard of you, in looking at some of those clowns, it is timeless and it's still funny and it's still, it's wonderful to have footage of the likes of Grok, but some of these performances are they're still phenomenal. The physical comedy aspect of it is it will make kids, that obviously, it cuts to children laughing in the audience then that probably still aren't alive even today.
Yeah.
I bet if I showed that to my 8-year-old, she'd still laugh.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Lauren Hardy's such a great example, it's just still very funny now.
Do you ever pinch yourself and think, oh my God, this is what I get to do?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, particularly in Edinburgh, the other days, is the amount of people that stopped me and came and say hello, and acts that I kind of, clowns that I look up to now and go, wow, they're great. Having them come up and say the same thing to me is, it still makes me, oh wow. A lot of celebrities come to this show, which I get much more of a buzz out of somebody that nobody have heard of, that's a good clown coming up to me and going,
right,
I like what, you know what I mean? I mean, some celebrities, obviously, like Aid Edmondson or people like that.
Wow, has Aid Edmondson been as he?
Barry Humphries, people like that who are comedically,
I mean, Aid and Rick Mail.
Yeah, big hero. People like that, I'm like, oh wow. But general celebrity is kind of like, okay.
Who's the most famous person in your phone?
Probably Helena Bonham Carter. She was very close with Nell.
Right.
So yeah, that's how I got to know her.
Yeah. I mean, Nell's legacy is obvious. We're looking at it, but what do you think Nell's legacy beyond what we see is?
I'm not quite sure.
There will be generations. I think I saw you said sometimes you look out and there are 3 or 4 generations of people sat there watching. I guess that's the. That's what I mean is, and maybe I've not articulated it well, but I tend to get a bit poetic.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, somebody as special as that's created something so wonderful. They've built something that is more than the painted wagons. That is more than the big top. It's there's just what is it? Is it hope? Is it
I mean, for me, a big part of it, like I say, is about bringing families together, because there isn't that much that, all the family enjoy in that way.
Well, we don't sit around the TV in the same way that you mentioned earlier on, 6
Yeah.
o'clock, Laurel and Hardy are on.
No.
You're sat, you're watching that with your family. That doesn't typically happen anymore because everybody's on their devices. Everybody's, there are families lots of families obviously don't eat dinner together. So we don't have those moments of being united. I mean, and the pantomime for me is, my mum comes and, I bring, so I've got my mum, I've got me, the kids. So it is that multi-generational thing that means something beyond just there's something funny happening on stage, I think.
And that's what I love about it. It is about bringing families together, and you enjoy it together, and then you reminisce about it afterwards, talk about it afterwards. You know what I mean? That to me is a very special thing.
Can you complete this sentence for me? And it's the last thing I'm going to ask you to do.
I don't know.
Anything is possible if.
I guess I'd say if you work hard enough. But I don't know if that's entirely true.
I guess there are lots of, like for you, just hearing your story, there's been so many moments where you've gone out of your way to point in the direction of success isn't the right thing, but of what you want to do with your life.
Yeah.
Sending those letters out, saying yes to opportunities. Yeah, I'll do it because he's not here. Those things. So, it's, you have worked hard to become good at what you do.
Yeah.
But also, I guess there's lots of those moments that, that stitched together to mean you are where you are right now.
Yeah.
Tweedy, this has been a lot of fun. As I said, I was incredibly excited about this, and I'm very, very grateful to you for your time, for just everything. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Much appreciated, mate.
You are welcome.
Thank you. And we're back. I hope you enjoyed it. As I say, absolutely adored meeting Tweedy. What a guy. What a career. And he's nowhere near done. I loved talking about his influences, how just the sheer amount of practice that he does to stay at the top of his game. And what a wonderful interview, if I may say so myself. I am a small part of these interviews. I just facilitate. That's my only hope here, is to bring their stories to you and inspire, entertain, all of those good things. So thank you. Thank you for listening, watching. As I said last week, don't bother subscribing. Don't bother sharing. Don't bother doing anything. Why would you? Don't bother reviewing. Right, I'll leave you to it. projectpossible.substack.com. Wouldn't go there. All the socials, Rich Lee Pod, LERGHPOD. Don't know why I'm spelling it out. Don't bother. Don't go to Instagram. See you in a bit. Goodbye. Forever. Cheers, guys.